Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. With that said, let's get into some of the other bigger stories of the college football weekend. And I don't think there was a bigger story that we have not hit on yet than Kentucky going into Tennessee and getting the victory. Congrats to the Wildcats. 34-7 is the final score. And it was so surreal for so many reasons. First off, for people who do not know the history, Kentucky does not go to Knoxville very often and win, okay? Last time they did it was 1984, okay? I am in my mid-30s right now, and I wasn't even born the last time that Kentucky went to Knoxville and got a win. There's not many things happening in sports right now that I can say that I was not alive to see, but up until Saturday, Kentucky winning in Knoxville was not one of them. And if you really think about it, it means that basically anybody under the age of 40 does not remember Kentucky winning at Neyland Stadium. That's exactly what happened. And it's not only that they won, it's that they won convincingly. And by the way, shout out to all the Kentucky fans that got in my mentions, got in my DMs because I picked against Kentucky this week. You guys were right. I was wrong. Not only did Tennessee lose, but Kentucky won convincingly. A lot of things to get into in terms of the game itself. Obviously, do want to start from the Wildcat perspective to the victors go the spoils. And it was just a complete team effort. I mean, I don't think there's anything to say other than that. First of all, the defense has been unbelievable the last 2 weeks. And it's crazy, right? Because I still go back to that Ole Miss game 2 weeks ago. For people who don't remember all of Kentucky's schedule, narrow loss to Auburn in a game where Auburn got a fluky call go their way, which completely changed the game. They lose to Ole Miss in week 2. And I think at that point, a lot of people, Kentucky was overrated. They're not very good. And I remember saying both on this podcast and in an article I wrote for Kentucky Sports Radio, I said, look, it's not that Kentucky's bad. They're beating themselves. And if you go back to that Ole Miss game, there was the A.J. Rose situation where he's running towards the end zone. He starts celebrating before he gets there. A touchdown ends up getting taken off the board. There's a missed PAT in overtime, which ends up costing them the game. There's penalties. There's sloppy play. And the defense, which is so vaunted, so many highly rated recruits, simply wasn't getting the job done. I dropped this stat on Saturday, but Kentucky's defense was the only defense in the SEC that through the first 2 weeks had not forced a single turnover. That's not good. And it was reflective of why Kentucky was struggling. It wasn't because they were overrated. It wasn't because they stunk. It wasn't because Terry Wilson, their quarterback, stunk. It was because they weren't doing the little things that you need to do to win. They were essentially beating themselves. When you have too many penalties, when you're missing PATs, no disrespect to the kicker, but it's a reality. When you have a running back pulling up short to celebrate and the ball gets stripped or he gets tackled, and then he fumbles a few plays later, you're not going to win games. And so to see the defense from that day when they did not have a single turnover through 2 games to where we are now, where they had 10 turnovers in the last 2 games, unbelievable. 6 against Mississippi State. Poor KJ Costello basically will never be a starting quarterback in college football again, thanks to Kentucky. And it might be the same for Jarek Garantano. 6 turnovers against Mississippi State, 4 turnovers against Tennessee. Obviously, 2 pick sixes in the second quarter, which completely changes the game and frankly completely changed maybe the entire conversation about Tennessee football as well, which we will get into in a minute. And it's a direct reflection of this defense. They were never bad. They were never overrated. They didn't stink. They just needed to lock in and do the things that they were supposed to do. Now, did I think they'd get 10 turnovers in 2 weeks? No, but I did think they were better. I did think part of it was a reflection of Ole Miss's this crazy offense that nobody has figured out until Arkansas on Saturday. And so a lot of the credit for the success obviously goes to the defense. When you have 2 pick sixes, when you force 4 turnovers, you're going to win a lot of games. That's what Kentucky did. I also want to give credit to Terry Wilson. And for people who do not know the Terry Wilson narrative, and I don't claim to be any Kentucky football expert, I'm not Nick Roush from Kentucky Sports Radio. I'm not Justin Rowland from Rivals who cover this team day in and day out. But I understand there's been frustration with Terry Wilson over the course of his career. I understand he's not the most dynamic player in America. He's not the most dynamic quarterback in America. But I also understand that, as many fans have pointed out to me, the frustrating part is how the plays are called under the offensive coordinator, Eddie Gran. And so part of it, yes, I understand you want more from the quarterback position at times. But part of it is Eddie Gran, the offensive coordinator, opening things up. And a funny thing happened when Kentucky got a lead on Saturday. They opened things up. They let Terry Wilson do what he is capable of doing, and he makes a few plays with his arm. Again, I'm not calling him Trevor Lawrence, but I thought that was one of the better games that he has played throughout his career, thanks to the confidence of the defense, of the run game, and of the coaching staff to let him throw the ball around a little bit. Couple nice throws to the tight end. He just looked really good. And when I look back on his career and what he's done, I do feel like the guy's kind of getting a raw deal. And maybe it's because I know so many writers who cover Kentucky. But they all brought up the same point on Saturday, and I thought it was a great point, and I'm not claiming I'm the only one that said it. But look at this guy's resume. I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs of Kentucky football history, but who has done more at quarterback than Terry Wilson? Now, Tim Couch was better statistically. Jared Lorenzen, rest in peace to an incredible guy there, was maybe better statistically. But think about what Terry Wilson has done. Terry Wilson went into Florida and beat Florida, ended a losing streak that was at 30-plus years at that point. Terry Wilson went into Knoxville and won against UT for the first time since 1984. Terry Wilson was the starting quarterback of a 10-win team 2 seasons ago. Terry Wilson won both starts that he made last year before getting injured late in that second game against Eastern Michigan. And oh, by the way, on top of everything else, it's what I just said a minute ago. You not only beat Tennessee, you smack them around. And that was the crazy part. And this is where it goes to Kentucky, a complete team effort, as they just made Tennessee quit. And I know part of it was the turnovers, and we're going to get into all that in a second. But they physically manhandled Tennessee. They physically made them quit. Tennessee gave up in the middle of the third quarter, and the game was essentially over at that point. An incredible effort by Kentucky, a team effort by Kentucky. And congrats to all the fans who are obviously riding a high after a historic win in Knoxville. First time in many of the people's lives who listen to this show.